Hello, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to another episode of the Classics Show. I am your host, Shabnum, Riaz. Well, today we are going to talk about Allama Iqbal's Tulip of Sinai, from A Message from the East, by Aamir and to talk about this book and also, how this book has been presented in a different way. We have with us in the studios Shireen, Gheba, Najib, who is a freelance writer, author, blogger, artist and educationist. Thank you very much for joining us here today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a great pleasure. And I really want to share what I have done. And it's not, the whole venture was not just for myself alone. It was to share a joy which I felt. And I have been an educationist for many years, over 25 years actually. And I used to tell my students this, that supposing a person finds a treasure, then what do you do with that treasure? You want to share it with your loved ones. A parent would want to share it with his children. And an author would like to share it with the readers, you know.
Absolutely.
So this has been my great, venture, endeavor for many years now. When I wanted to, I had this treasure, but I wanted to share it in a way that the readers would like, you know.
Right.
Since basically I feel very strongly about the fact that Iqbal's poetry we are getting more distant from it because we cannot understand it. And our main problem is not knowing Urdu or Persian language. So why not just know the thoughts behind those words?
Exactly, without getting into the intricacies.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's the meaning that really matters. And that's what the whole thing was. That was one point, and the other was whether it's still relevant in today's world. You know, what's the point of publishing something which was originally published in 1923? Is it relevant to today's world? So that's the question. When I looked into this poetry, I found it so relevant and we need it so badly. And so here it is.
And what I found was wonderful is that when I spoke to you before the program as well, and I received your book and I looked at the book as well, we can see a passion. All authors have a passion when they're writing and everything. But in your work I can see the extra mile and the complete labor of love that you have gone through. And especially when I was reading the introduction as well, when you were describing your affiliation with Iqbal and how that has, made such a lasting impression. You spoke about being introduced at a young age, at an early age, and that carried on with you. So that shows the magic of Iqbal. And were you aware, when you were going to take on this task of illustrating these poems and these quatrains, were you aware of the challenge behind it? Was there a time when you came to a couple of verses and you just thought, oh, how do I achieve this one, and which ones are they?
Actually, passion is the word, and Iqbal himself taught me how to go about it.
That's so true.
It's so true. I mean, it's
an amazing answer.
He gave me the whole way to go about it. And he says that when it's a time for action, then you stop thinking. You just plunge into it and then see what happens and just, do firefighting or whatever. But the thing was that I had this objective that I wanted to share it. And then I wanted to share it in a way that it would be read. So in order to make it, I made it a small, handy book, particularly because I didn't want it to be a coffee table book which is dusted every few days and it stays there, never to be opened, or maybe just opened once or twice. I wanted it a book to be, this a sort of a manuscript has been in my purse for years and years. And whenever I'd be waiting for a dentist or somebody's, there's time when you suddenly find yourself waiting. So this would be handy in my purse, and there I would pick it out. And like my daughter was just a few months old or few years old, and I would be carrying this with me. So whenever there was any time for me, I would just pick it up, and the words would just give me so much strength. Whatever problem I was facing at that time would seem to just feel as if it was insignificant. Because here was a man who knew how to deal with it all, who knew the kind of spirit that is needed to face any hardship.
And exactly, you know, what you're describing is so true, because there are many points in a person's life, you know, be whatever the circumstances, that you do come to a certain time when you feel overwhelmed, or you feel, you know, is this something beyond my capacity? Will I be able to go on? Is this something I can, you know, really carry out successfully? That's when Iqbal speaks to you, isn't it? That's when Iqbal says to you that set the bar so high that you don't believe in failure, because failure actually is not trying.
Exactly.
It's not
trying hard enough,
you know, or just not trying at all.
Exactly.
Because you can't say you failed if, you know, you have tried something. Because that in itself is a success. So let's talk about Iqbal as well, you know, him talking about khudi and the self-esteem and the self-belief. Because I feel that that has also made a huge impact, hasn't it?
Definitely. I mean, then it's, and even nowadays, if you see self-actualization as has been taught by the West, and you know, recently with all the MBA students with the, you know, Maslow, you know, theory, they are all looking for self-actualization. But this has already been given to us over 100 years ago. And it's all about you, yourself, and how you react to something, and the level you set for yourself.
True.
You know, it's not what others think of you.
That is the key. And I would say that is exactly the key. That is the trap we fall in. And, you know, I remember a quote that nobody can let you feel inferior until you give them your consent.
Exactly.
That's what it's all about. And because, you know, that's where everything stems from. Your inner belief and confidence in yourself that, okay, you know, my intentions are right. I want to try something, or I know I'm approaching this in the right way. And whatever happens or doesn't happen, at least I'll have that contentment that I believe in myself. So, you know, what you're saying is so right, that this is the message we need to give to our youth. In the days when, you know, we have this attention deficit, where there's sort of a skimming of things, and people really don't have the time to get into the depths. I think you've done a huge service to be able to come up with this publication. And, you know, if I can just show you Shireen's book, that's the cover. And inside she has made beautiful illustrations accompanying Iqbal's poems. And, you know, Shireen, I wanted to read a few and show your illustrations as well that go with it. So while I just get to the page here, right, this one. With all your glory, you keep yourself veiled. You cannot bear our passion's eager gaze. You course in our blood like a potent wine, yet how aloof, how distant are your ways. And, you know, that's one of Shireen's illustrations there. So how did you start visualizing?
You see, I'm an artist. I was an artist before I became a writer, before I became a blogger or anything. Since I was a child, I have, you know, since the age of 12, I have been painting. So my first, whenever I see anything, I get these visions inside me. I mean, I can just see it. So when I would be reading these verses, pictures would be coming in front of my mind.
The images were forming. Okay, right.
I had seen Iqbal being illustrated by other artists also. But I wanted something which was very modern, which was very fresh, which was
relatable
and more towards our times.
Right.
Because if his words are relevant to our times, then the illustrations need to be of our times, you know. Many times I kept thinking, how does Iqbal know what we are facing these days? but he had actually faced even worse times. If you see, this book was published originally, Payam-e-Mashriq, was published in 1923. And in 1919, we have the First World War. If you just see that it was written just after the First World War, and the whole world had faced a lot of hardships. The Western world had faced a lot of hardships. They were already recovering, and so was the subcontinent, where the Muslims were, you know, downtrodden, and they were still recovering from the blow of having their land and everything taken over from them. So, they're having to live a life of being subservient to another, regime. So, it was a hardship. Now, the whole, crux of it all is how to face hardships.
Right.
So, hardships are there now, hardships are there. Whether we face hardship individually or collectively, we've got to have a recipe for success or a recipe of how to step by step. Exactly.
To bounce back.
To be able to just...
Because
exactly. We have to be able to bounce back.
What you're touching upon is so important.
Yes.
There are going to be issues. Life is not a bed of roses.
Exactly.
When you're young and you're forming ideas in your head and you're imagining the future, many things go on in your mind. When you enter into practical life, many a times there's a rude awakening.
Yeah.
And you see, okay, I hadn't actually visualized things like this. And then real life sets in and life's phases change. The main thing is being able to grasp reality and to merge that with what you had in your mind and make that a successful, make the best of it, basically.
Exactly. And not to forget your goal, the original goal. Even in the publishing of this book, it was such a journey. And through it all, I felt such a closeness with Allama Iqbal, I realized I'm nothing. I'm a nobody, if you compare with what a great man he was.
Yes.
What kind of hardships did he face? Can you imagine Lahore, which had probably not yet got electricity? So he had to write with a little lamp and with an oil-filled lamp. And then he had a scribe who used to write whatever he wanted to do, what he wanted to say. And can you imagine the problems of publications that he must have faced? And then to go through it all knowing that hardly anybody is actually literate.
Yes.
Who is going to... So, when I was going through this process, many people said, oh, no, who reads these days? I'm publishing a book at a time when actual running publishing companies are failing. They have just stopped. And many bookshops like Barnes and Nobles and all of them are facing a real crisis. So why go into such a venture? But I was thinking
What was your answer when people used to say that to you?
Yeah, I just had to do it. That's it. And again, Iqbal teaches you that once you've made up your mind, then don't look right or left. Just go ahead and do it. In the same way, you see, there is a right time for something to bloom. And that is not my problem. That is someone up there who's going to use that for another time, another space, another people. That's what's happened with Iqbal. Now, this is Persian. All my life, when I was a kid, I never knew Persian language. But people used to say his best poetry is in Persian language.
Yes.
So, if somebody says that to you, you say, okay, I can never learn Persian language. Even if I do, how will it be good enough to be able to understand his work? So might as well just forget about it. So here was somebody in 1971, Muhammad Hadi Hussain, who had the courage to pick up work of Allama Iqbal and to make such a translation, to write such a translation which would really touch the hearts of the people. Because he belonged to this land, many people had translated his work.
We had the Western world translating Iqbal as well.
Many
but then, of course, they couldn't grasp the
Exactly.
actual identity with the soil, the identity with the atmosphere.
Yeah.
That's what made the difference.
That's the whole thing, and it's so fascinating. The more I went into it, I realized, oh my God, it's so wonderful.
It's speaking to me.
It has to be done. It is, if you notice, there is this page which is the cover page of the original book. This was by Aamir. I don't know if you can see it.
Yes, yes.
So
yes.
this was in 1923, and it says that this is in answer to the Divan, which was written by German poet Goethe.
Yes.
So this is the whole book is an answer to a plea which was made again another 100 years earlier by Goethe. And now I'm publishing this book another. So this is a story of 200 years. But you see how easily we sprout out Rumi's thoughts, and we know what Shakespeare said.
One of the best-selling authors in the US at the moment.
Exactly. It's Rumi.
Yes.
And Iqbal was inspired by Rumi, definitely. And here he passed away like 100 years ago, less than that. So the thing is that why can't we relate to Iqbal? Why should we be far from him?
A very valid question.
Yes.
He's left us a legacy.
Exactly.
And it's our responsibility.
Yes, to
It's our responsibility to
Yes.
keep those thoughts alive, to keep them relevant. Absolutely true. Absolutely agree with you. And you know, the best thing about Iqbal was that even in those times of gloom, despair, and everything,
Yes.
he came out proactive. He came out assertive.
Exactly.
There was not the melancholy and the, whatever.
Misery.
No. It was,
Yeah.
okay, you can do anything. You can basically do anything you want.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was the thought he was promoting against for the young as well. So I think that's fantastic, that you're doing that, because again, in relevance to that, reading from your book, if you know your potentialities, then with the dew you are, create vast seas. O heart, why beg the moon for arms of light? Let your own flaming breath light up your night. How beautiful, how beautiful. What a concept. From, the dew you are, create vast seas. And also there is the illustration there that Shireen has made for that one. And it's absolutely beautiful thought that you, again, you are not just a drop in the ocean, the entire ocean in a drop. So that's what, exactly, it's absolutely beautiful. So now tell us about, because you're into education as well, how have you taken this thought across to your students, and what have you been inspiring them with?
Actually, I started with the way, I had been on this project for a long time. All the students whom I have ever taught, all of them know that I love Iqbal's work, right? And to please me sometimes, like recently it was my birthday and my children made a video of it, and a student, Afghani student whom I used to have in Islamabad, he's nowadays in England, and his name is Ahmed, and he was asked to participate in a video that my children were making for me. And he sprouted out Iqbal to me.
Okay.
So they knew that if they speak about Iqbal and all, they knew their madam would be very happy with them.
That's fantastic.
The thing is that I shared whatever I understood of Iqbal. I do not profess to know everything that he has said, but I'm still, the journey is still on for me. I'm still learning, and I want others to join me in trying to understand him. So my main purpose was that I feel, when the partition took place, it happened a few years after Iqbal had passed away. But his poetry was being sprouted out by the people on the roads, in the homes. How did everybody get to know about his poetry? By talking about it, by learning from each other. Why can't we do that now? How come? Why have we become so distant? And I feel as a generation, maybe the failure is ours.
True.
We didn't do anything. Instead of, if we just say, we needn't condemn is a bad word, but we can't condemn the youths that you didn't try.
No, that's true.
We didn't try
We
either.
have that responsibility as the
Yes.
older generation.
Exactly. So if we, this is my, I feel that as part of my generation, I'm doing my little bit to share a joy with the coming generations. And to, because I knew them quite closely, I felt that yes, this is the kind of, in this shape and form, they will like it. They are used to international quality printing.
Yes.
You see, they are used to high quality color photographs. They are used to the best. They are the best. So I want to give them the best in whatever way, in however way I can do it. You know, so we want everything to come on a plate for us, but that is not how life is.
Right,
You
absolutely
see?
true.
So-
We're going to continue this conversation. Right now we're going for a break. Stay with us, don't change the channel. Okay, welcome back to the program. And, you know, we're having a fantastic conversation speaking about Iqbal and also about Shireen's passion of putting Iqbal into, well, poetry into art and poetry into pictures and giving a legacy to our children and our generations as well to, you know, this is Iqbal, this is who you are supposed to identify with.
Yes.
This is your role model.
Yeah.
Because I think, you know, we all, not just children, we all need a role model
Yeah, we do.
throughout
All
all
of
our,
us,
you
yes.
know, whatever phase of life you're in.
Exactly.
So, as Persian poetry, you know, they speak a lot about the moth and the candle, and that's one of the predominant features as well. Two quatrains of Iqbal's. I hear a moth before creation prayed, for one bright moment, God, let me be made. At daybreak cast away my ashes, but for one night let my splendor be displayed. Again, so beautiful. And another one that you know, sort of spoke to me. Do not tell me about that silly moth who met an easy suicidal death. It is the hardy moth that I admire, the one who bravely fights with his last breath. And again, that's the same thought.
Exactly.
Resilience.
Resilience.
Resilience is the message.
Yes. You know, nowadays, as one talks about the youth, previously there weren't so many suicidal, you know, suicides.
True.
Now you hear
True.
more of that.
Yes.
What is suicide? Suicide is total disappointment and, you know, having no hope. And also no resilience to take on the hardships. So here is someone giving you courage, he's giving you strength, he's telling you what to admire in somebody else. It's not the one who just lies there and says, oh, everything is hopeless and is ready to die. No, it's
He's
the one
so
who
against
fights
passiveness.
Exactly.
He's so against it.
Exactly.
That, you know, are you going to be a reactionary all your life, just reacting to things that are bound to happen? Everyone's life is different.
Yes.
There are ups, there are downs. But the thing is that to the capacity that you can, how much are you going to keep on struggling and keep on fighting against that?
Exactly. You see, the most important thing is once you have this poetry at hand, once that you have been reading it, it slowly and slowly becomes part of you. A point comes when there is no confusion in yourself, there is no confusion in your mind. You become so clear that I'm going to do this and I don't care what comes in my way and I'm going to do it. No matter how many hardships come. So I'm ready to face 1, 2, 3, as many hardships as possible. But I'm not going to run away from this.
Exactly.
So that particular kind of strength. It is a strength. And once it gets ingrained within you, I had written a blog on Iqbal and I can relate to every student today. I can relate to every young person today because I was that person. I recently shared words of my father, which he wrote on a book on Iqbal's poetry, which they gifted me when I was in college. And he said, I hope that you learn all about history, geography, Islamic studies, because you've got to have so much knowledge before you can really understand what Iqbal is talking about, because sometimes he's relating to some incident which took place in a particular time, and if you haven't studied it, you won't know what it's all about.
True.
So you've got to have that, information. So how am I going to learn all that? It seemed like such an impossible prayer that my father made while he was writing these words on the book. And now I'm here talking to you about this book as if I know a lot about Iqbal. Yes, I'm a student, I'm learning, but I have benefited from it. And what I wrote in my blog about Iqbal and I is that though I didn't understand Iqbal myself, but when I used to see people who did, I realized they were different people. And I've seen, like, my father going through different circumstances. He went through 2 wars, 71 war, 65 war. He's totally fearless. In any circumstance, I have seen him. I'm his daughter, I would know, He's so proud, so fearless. And that's the quality I want to have, A few years ago, we all faced, my family and all, we faced quite a lot of hardships. I think every family faces it.
True.
And people often wondered how we stood up to everything. I would give credit to this poetry also.
This is the answer.
This is the answer.
Huge, what a huge contribution. What a larger than life personality he had.
Yes.
To be able to, after so many years, to make an individual difference on somebody's life.
Exactly.
Because you are, the word you used, fearless. So many times we are dictated by our fears that we end up cornering ourselves into places where we think, okay, this is a safe place. And if I'm in this place, nothing can harm me and I will be okay. But then the cornering of a person into its seclusion, and how far are you going to go? That is where, you very rightly identified the total loss of hope.
Exactly.
And the suicidal tendencies, because that's what happens when one secludes themselves and they let their fears dictate them. So that's a very, very important point of Iqbal's poetry, exactly. Let's talk about the publishing aspect as well, because you published this book as well yourself. I thought that was very fascinating. How did that come about?
Well, again, I would give credit to Iqbal, because though I had never done publishing before, I knew what I wanted. And I have already published 4 books through other publishers, very well known. And like my one book, which was published in America by one of their oldest publishing companies, Rose Dog and Dorrance Limited. And then the one in Pakistan was published by Feroz Sons. They were very, very acclaimed and to be the best. And they are, no doubt about it. But when it came to, there were things which were out of my hand, like pricing of the book, the availability, distribution. And now when I like the one in America is hard to get over here, and the others are, there was some incident for the publishing company. There was a fire incident, and quite a few of their copies got destroyed, burnt up. So I didn't have any control over these things. So I wanted to have control over the pricing and the distribution. So, and the quality. I wanted even better quality than the one I had seen by the best. I mean, you know, this is what Iqbal taught us. Like he tells you, go for the skies, go for the best.
Absolutely.
To, you know, reach your, you know, go beyond your limits, go higher than your limits, strive for the best.
And in fact, isn't that an extremely attractive component of a person's personality? Confidence, self-confidence. It will speak before you open your mouth.
That's true.
It'll give that message to other people as well, to understand that, you know, okay, I know what I want, so I won't be exploited.
Yes, and you're ready to work for it.
Yes.
Then you don't see that this is night, this is day, I'm tired, I've got too many other things to do, I have these responsibilities. In spite of, you know, rising to all the responsibilities, you stay focused. So when I went to my printer over here, it was very interesting how I had gone to change the tire of my car, and I happened to be in the vicinity, and I saw this publisher's board over there, and I went over there. And when I met the owner of the place, Printographics, I realized that here's a person who cares. And I found out that their printing company is 40 years old here in Islamabad. So I told him that I want the highest quality of work done and international. Why should I go abroad to get it printed with international quality? Here is something which is Pakistani. It is for the people of our country, and you know, it's for the youth of the world. But basically starting from Pakistan. I want something which is made in Pakistan. Why should I look abroad for it?
Fantastic.
So I spoke to him. So next time I had made a dummy of what I wanted. So I took the dummy with me, and he says, that really made me realize here's somebody very serious.
Right.
I said, yes, I mean it. I really want to. And then throughout the process, I would go and sit with him and make sure that things are done the way I want it. Because if the publisher is not with you, it's very hard. And though the American publishers were very good, I must say, even Feroz Sons was excellent. But to have a printer who is in my own you know, city, it's easier for me to keep going back and forth and getting the quality which I want. So finally, here it is.
Right. And you know, a phrase you used there, that the printer said, okay, this is somebody who really means what they say. That also is something that is so important. That's when people start taking you seriously. When they realize that, okay, this is somebody who's not just saying things just to get through a situation or just to put somebody on hold or just to gain some time. They actually mean what they say. The value of what we say. Now, how do we enforce that? How do we do that?
I think by being that. First, only by example.
By example.
I mean, you know, the funny thing was, once the printer was convinced, the next time I visited him, 3 people in his office were already working on it. It was so, you know, exciting for me, and the excitement was contagious. It was no longer my project. It was their project.
Fantastic.
He just owned it. He said, now just forget it. And you know, a point comes in every project. When you do your bit, then you have to trust. Do everything you possibly can, and then you have to trust.
Absolutely.
You know? And then another thing which I feel in our country we like to get, pay the least and get the best. That's what we want. Excuse me, this is the real world over here. We've got to pay the most, and then we expect the best.
Shortcuts are not the answer.
Exactly.
It seems that that's what everybody wants.
Yeah.
Shortcuts.
That's not the way.
Absolutely true.
Yeah. You give yourself in person and in kind, and then expect the best. You know?
Okay. Right. How much of poetry is lost in translation, do you think?
I wouldn't know because I think depends on the translator. And again, if
it's a huge responsibility.
It's an absolutely huge responsibility. I think it's the heart and soul of the translator, and of course his skill. He has done a lot of translations. I didn't know about this. He passed away in 1986, Hadi Hussain. I have actually done a lot of freelance work, 700-800 articles for Dawn and different newspapers. So I interviewed Javed Iqbal in Lahore in his home.
Okay.
And
That
I
must have
asked
been
him,
a really
beautiful,
important moment for you.
Of course it was.
Yeah. So
It
what were
was-
your feelings there? What were the questions that you asked?
Ah, good question. This was way back in 2003. That article is also in this book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I frankly wouldn't be remembering exact questions that I asked him. But I definitely asked him about Hadi Hussain.
Okay.
And I asked him that I've been enjoying this poetry and this translation. Have you met him? And he said, yes, I did meet him in the late 60s. And he said, he told me that I'm working on this project. But he never got to read the result of the finished work.
Okay.
Yes, and I just found it by accident in a library in Masroor PF base library.
Okay.
So my husband was in the Air Force, and whichever base we used to go to, I used to just devour all the books over there. The library was
Fantastic.
my biggest haunt. But this book I loved like anything. So I would just keep reading it, keep reissuing it and reading it on and on. So that's how I got close to it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Please read some of your favorite
I'd love to.
quatrains from there.
The one which is on the title, this particular painting I have done, because it shows what Iqbal, he's referring to himself. The garden songster's chorus, I, for one, do not join, but sing on my branch alone. If you are weak, do not come near me, for in my song you will see my heart's blood drawn.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
This is, in Urdu, he has mentioned this creative work as something that a person does with khoon-e-jigar,
True.
the blood from one's body. You use your blood to
That is
do
why
your
it's
work.
so draining.
Yeah,
That
it
is why
draining.
it's so draining.
It's
And that
draining.
is why the creative person is in a state of restlessness.
Yes.
Because they're searching for the expression. They are undergoing many phases. There's something that stirs the soul, that leads to a thought being formed, leads to unrest inside, and then the expression.
Yeah.
How is that going to take place? How is it going to come forward? That's where all that comes from.
It's amazing. You see, we all get scared that we are not one of the crowd, especially the youth, the teenagers. They want to be one of the crowd.
Yeah.
They want to be one with the gang, with the group, with the team. And if one person is left separately, he doesn't feel very good about it.
Inclusion.
He goes into depression, he goes into... You know, I was a coordinator in Roots school.
Okay.
And there was a student whom I used to watch that he wouldn't mix up with others. And he would, just be found like a lone figure here or there. And I would keep an eye on him, wondering, hope he's not feeling too depressed or something. But when I spoke to him, I found he was so confident. He was so, wonderful. He was a very well-rounded personality.
Okay.
And I was very happy to see that. And he was not shy of being alone. Just because he didn't want to get on with the other groups, he preferred to be alone.
You know what you're saying
Look at the confidence.
is so important.
Yes.
So many times a person will compromise on their principles, values,
yes.
ideas, just to be one of the crowd. And I think that is when you're in most danger of being lost as a person,
Yes.
as an individual. So that, what you just touched upon, that is one
Yeah.
of the most empowering traits of a human being. to be comfortable in the company of yourself, to not be lonely when you are physically alone. I mean, that's something that is really...
It's amazing, and I've seen it in people. There are so many people who are not bothered if they are alone or not. And there are others who are also with people, but then deep down they are still alone.
Oh, true. Absolutely.
To be lonely
Absolutely.
while being in a crowd.
Yes. Oh,
you see,
very, very often.
Because that person hasn't found any like-minded people among them and is just actually acting out a sham of what he's not really.
And then the paradox there is that when you're, surrounding yourself with people who are not of the same like-minded, or, they don't share your same energy, you go away actually feeling more drained.
Exactly.
And the
Very
cycle
true.
goes on and on
Very
until you
true.
think, okay, we're in this place because I'd rather not be alone.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, that contentment isn't there. So that's a very, very important message for the youth as well. And as you've been working with them and you care about them, that's something that I think is really, really important, to care, empathy.
Yeah.
What's your message for, not just our youth, everyone in general? Because this is something that we find, materialism, time management, there may be a tendency to be more selfish. There may be a tendency to put oneself first, which is nothing wrong with that, but as long as there is a balance for caring about, how do we enforce empathy?
Empathy is, of course, all about putting yourself in the shoes of another person. I think being a parent makes it very easy for you to have empathy. Being a teacher is the next step. I think next best thing after parenthood is being a teacher. When you are empathetic is very natural. It comes from love. The word ishq. And it's all about love. When you love somebody, you will have empathy for them. When they are in pain, you will feel the pain. And all of this only happens when there is love. I have great love for the youth of our country. I have great love for all human beings. They are all God's creations. And when anybody is in pain, you feel the pain. And when they are happy, you feel happy.
Yes.
So here is something which I found which made me feel confident. It gave me strength. It gave me happiness. And I wanted to share it with everybody. I wanted them to feel all these feelings that I felt when I read this. But the beauty of it, I feel that God is behind every project that you are doing. Now this one took a lot of time. But while feeling bad that I have wasted or whatever, taken so much time in doing just one project, but you see, this is the best of times for it to have come out. You know why? Because you'll find some words written here which are not spoken very commonly, because it's almost like Old English, some of the words here. And it's so easy in your phone, in your computer, to be able to find the link to that word. So you will immediately find that old dictionary, and through that you can check out the word immediately. If you don't have a knowledge of history, Islam, whatever, any topic that Iqbal is mentioning, you just click the word and you will get the meaning. So probably this was what it was meant to be. If it is something to be understood and read in today's time, this is the best of all times. Because
Fantastic.
you can find out everything that's
Fantastic.
written over here, which you don't understand. And the feelings of empathy and love and everything come with a search, a struggle, a journey through a certain experience. And you want to have this experience, you want to learn what it's all about. I mean, there's such a hype about Iqbal. And you wonder, somebody says, he's too much of an idealist. That cannot happen in today's world. Like I was, as a teacher, I've taught so for many years in different parts of Pakistan. I was a principal, I was an administrator. And there'd be people coming and telling me, you know, you don't have to be truthful all the time. You know, it doesn't work over here in such a job, in such a thing. You have to sometimes say this thing just to, you know, make things. I would say, no, it doesn't.
It won't suit me. I won't be able to do that.
Exactly.
That's not me.
That's not me. And one had, okay, I don't want this job.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here if it's going to make me somebody that I'm not. It works. Everything that Iqbal says, all this idealism, everything, it works. It genuinely works.
Absolutely.
I mean, you just see what a genuine person Iqbal was. That once a group of Hindus were constantly after Iqbal and Jinnah to stop what they were doing. So there was this group who came and they said to him that, you know, basic idea of Pakistan is yours. Why are you letting Jinnah, you know, get all the credit for it? Why are you letting him be the leader? You should have been the leader. Now this is such an example of what a genuine man he was. He said, today you have said this thing and I'm not kicking you out of my house because you are in my house right now and you are my guest. But don't you dare say such a thing again, because only Jinnah can be the leader of this nation.
Imagine.
You know, he could have come into
Oh,
that
yes,
talk and he
yes,
could have
yes,
said, oh
yes.
yes, you know, it's my idea. I'm the one
Yes.
who should have led all these people. No, he stood back.
Character, principle, values, they're all speaking wherever we are, wherever, you know, whatever we do. And this is exactly what makes up those people who are remembered in history.
Exactly.
For people, for being great.
Yes.
For the principles they had, and the fairness and the empathy and the love that they excluded. Thank you so much, Shireen, for being a guest on our program today. It's been absolutely fantastic, wonderful speaking to you about a personality like Iqbal, what you've done, the effort that you've done as well to, you know, make his work for our youth as well. And it's a fantastic service, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. I really want to thank PTV World for inviting me, and God bless you all. You're doing a great job.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Okay, so we come to the end of today's program. What a fantastic program it was. Do, you know, take away all those things Iqbal has been saying and believe in yourself. Don't despair. There always is that inner strength that we can pull out, even if it's our last reserve. Okay, so see you next week. Stay happy. Bye-bye.